Ahoy there. Today on the Red Sea, what industry is a lot shadier than it seems? The maritime industry. Most of the big companies do things by the book and treat crews well because they're afraid of lawsuits and unions. But many smaller mom and pop companies break laws and violate safety regulations with reckless abandon because they're not as visible and can stay under the radar, so to speak. It's very common for a small company to ask a captain/crew to do something illegal and dangerous in order to increase profit, and for the captain/crew to comply out of fear of losing their jobs. And that's just the US maritime industry. Sailors from poorer nations who work on ships are often fed little more than rice and cheap ramen for months at a time and paid pennies for their back-breaking work. I love running tugs for a living, but the industry as a whole is rife with shady business. IDK if it falls under maritime. But I took one look at the job listing for a cruise ship and now I tell all my cowhawkers to never take a job with one. I'm a stage hand and theater technician. I make decent money fresh out of college. $18.24 an hour depending on venue. Even without joining the union. Because I do specialized work. Looked into a lighting tech spot on a cruise ship, and it'd be getting minimum wage working 50 hours and 7 days a week. Wi-Fi on board costs money out of my paycheck. It'd be in charge of passenger safety off hours if an alarm goes off and we have to get people onto rescue rafts. I'd have a roommate in a small bunk, and all my wages would go directly into a ship debit card so I could give my income straight back to the company to eat. Something about living and working on a boat in the middle of the ocean seems to make employers think they do not have to actually care for their employees. I can imagine working on a boat that ISN not filled with people on vacation would be even worse. More people died last year over vanilla in Madagascar than cocaine in South America. They have even coined the term vanilla murder. Farmers hire armed mercenaries to guard their crops from thieves near harvest time. And if one is caught let's just say it's in response to all the farmers that were killed by thieves for the same reason. Dietary supplements. It's gotten better, but there's still a lot of half-truths and whole lies. Not all that long ago it was seriously like the wild wild west, and doing your own research is nearly impossible since the signal to noise ratio of the information is so low. Add in the whole bodybuilding and fitness industry that sits on top of supplements. The outrage is so huge I do not even want to start on it. Insta models etc. A lot of hobby fish importing is pretty shady. You have farms of certain types of fish like bettas in some areas of the world that are run with the fish in horrible conditions. Which is why a lot of the ones you get in a major chain store are sick before you even bring them home. The stores will blame the fish being stressed. But I have ordered and received hundreds of fish from small breeders/sellers and outside of Cory catfish that really enjoy committing suiciding by poisoning their own water. The fish arrive healthy and fine outside of boutique fish farming. The way some wild fish are caught is just horrible. The trappers will likely poison the water supply to knock out the fish, then scoop them out of the water without a care for that area's ecosystem. This has led to depletion of some natural species to the point they are now endangered. Lastly, boutique fish sellers/major chains do not give half a rat's ass what happens to the fish in the end. This means that people who buy fish like plecus, bettas, goldfish, etc. end up getting sick of them and dumping them in local waterways to supposedly get rid of the problem. So in some areas, these fish have completely destroyed the local water ecology because, like other invasive land species, they were never meant to be there. One of the worst offenders is the lionfish in Florida. It's venomous and has no natural predators, so its population has exploded out of control. Trucking. The margins are razor thin, and so everyone is trying to nickel and dime each other constantly. The drivers lie to their dispatchers. The dispatchers lie to the brokers lie to the clients. All of this for like $50 100 sometimes. I worked in trucking, and the head HR lady for our distribution center was skimming payroll, shorting the checks of the lowest people on the totem pole, then getting cash infusions to petty cash from corporate to return part of the theft as an emergency tied over until the employee's next check, then claiming the rest of the theft as an overage on the next payroll report. I'm probably missing a step in her chain, but I'm not an accountant. It was a scam she managed to work for a couple of years due to a lack of oversight during nationwide management shifts. When she finally got caught, rather than take the bad publicity, the company just let her leave. The last I heard she was working in the same position in an adjacent industry, but still involving transportation. Cest Larvae. I used to be a broker. Cold not stomach the lying. The guy I trained undertreated drivers like malarkey for instance. He'd lie to them about having appointments and give them the runaround when they eventually figured it out. Only he'd be the one to take the calls and had to pretend there was some big mix up or blame the consignee. Just keep spinning some complete bull malarkey all day long. Sometimes for a few days while the drivers just sat in a parking lot. Want compensation for your time. Read the fine print. Schmuck. Ratacan sign says no detention, no layover. They'd have to keep calling back for a week sometimes while I pretend like he's out to lunch every time they call until he finally answers. Then it's just this 30-minute long argument which inevitably ends in them getting shortchanged and he'd act like he was doing them a big favor paying below industry standard detention. That money was not even coming out of his pocket. He'd turn around and ask the customer for more money because he's got to do right by his drivers. They'd give him the standard rate and he'd pocket the difference. This guy makes like $300,000 a year. All industries are shadier than they seem. I used to work for a flute manufacturer and it was shady as hell. Deets. I do not want to name the manufacturer, but it was around the 2008 financial crisis and the place was equity owned and leveraged to ducking Mars. The CEO was committing bank fraud and screwing contractors while laying off employees and enriching himself. Domain names. There's so much shady stuff that goes on when it comes to domain names. Cyber squatting, sketchy registrars, domain hijacking, scams, predatory pricing, etc. Then there's the whole icon/.org fiasco that's been in the news recently. Worked at a domain registrar. Can confirm. Domain squatting is a thing, and so is customers trying to blame you if they make a dumb third-party decision. Here's an example. The registrar I worked at had a rather unique domain name that they sold at a rather interesting time. I cannot say what it was, but let's just say it had to do with a certain European country leaving a certain union, and the domain was at ELD with just that word in it. The day after everything went down, the former owner contacted us, passed account security, provided ID and told us to change the owner details to another person. He was all smug about how he made thousands off of this sale. Calls back half an hour later and what happened? The new owner stiffed him. Did not pay a penny. But because the guy had called, gone through security, changed the owner details on the domain, and pushed the button to transfer the domain to this other person at another registrar, it was out of our hands, and with the registry, the deed was done and this new person got a nice new domain with a very hard to get hold of name for nothing. For the record, in part of that country, and staunchly against what's happened. So being the person who authorized that details change and set the transfer in motion was a moment of malicious compliance you'll remember forever. So moral of the story, get paid before you authorize the transfer. This will probably get buried, but Glitter, a manager of one of the biggest glitter manufacturers, Glitterx, said in a 2018 interview that most of the glitter they make goes to one buyer for a single industrial use. When asked who the buyer was and why they need so much glitter, she said, "Oh, I definitely cannot disclose that." When asked why, she said because they do not want anybody to know it's glitter. Ever since this interview, people have been trying to guess what company or industry secretly uses most of the world's glitter and why they want to keep that use under wraps. First guess is car paint. To make a true red car paint you need actual gold flake. Maybe they're replacing the gold flake with glitter? This is going to bug me all day now. Goddamn you. Wife's guess is jewelry. Eyeglasses. You have no idea the snow job they put most people through when it comes to buying them. It's far worse than trying to buy a new car from a dealership. Wholesale frames are about $5.20. Wholesale lens blanks are another $10. Any kind of dip coating, of tinting, etc. is negligible cost and effort to apply, literally pennies. To top it off, they do not even do a whole lot in-house, but send it to labs which are basically sweet shops that can take up to 2-3 weeks when labor time is literally under 5 minutes, instead of training real opticians and technicians. They're just glorified sales staff now. Most of the time they do not even bother with proper measurement for PD, frame width, or arm fitting. Was an optician in the early 90s. I'm horrified at what the business has become. Pet industry. Basement puppy mills and dogs that are so inbred they can hardly breathe. There are plenty of ethical breeders out there, and some unlicensed breeders are ethical, even if in a legal gray zone. But the conditions of some of the so-called puppy mills can be really bad. Sometimes when breeds are mixed, and the pup gets the recessive genes the breeders were and not looking for, they straight up euthanize it, because they know it would not sell. Not to mention how many purebreds are actually not pure at all. And sold as is. Shady. Not just dogs. Tortoises at pet stores. Just find a responsible captive breeder and do not get one from a pet store. Also, macaws are another example. Bearded dragons should be okay, but that's probably the only reptile I'd buy from a pet store. CBD. Lot of predatory companies making subpar products with questionable raw materials and then marking it way the duck up and selling it as a miracle cure to vulnerable and ill-educated consumers. Usually have a high-power legal team on deck, but pay their workers malarkey and no benefits. Mattress Industry. Specifically, mattress firm. Worked in the mattress industry for a bit at a startup. Basically 90% bull malarkey, and the worst part? We had a real doctor serve an advisory role for our products. He debunked a lot of nonsense claims about mattresses like your pillow is 50% of your spinal support that the salespeople use to sell you accessories. The salespeople would argue with him like they knew better. Kool-Aid is strong there. Some of my favorites I learned are the zip direct door in a box foam bed. Companies like Tuft and Needle use the same material from the same manufacturer. There's hundreds of them. Just put them in different boxes and sell at wildly different prices. Side sleeper, back sleeper and stomach sleeper is baloney. You toss and turn at night on purpose to help prevent blood clots. No mattress will keep you from tossing and turning for the reason above. It's a natural thing you're supposed to do. More layers doesn't mean better mattress. A lot of companies add in cheap materials like upholstery foam to just claim there's more layers. Maybe one layer of nice springs, then just 10 layers of various types of cheap foam to get the layers higher. One that actually is true is heat. If you frequently are hot at night, foam mattress is not good for you. It's an insulator and will trap your heat on your body. In general, air and spring are better beds because of heat. Your body needs to dump temperature at night to get into a full, deep sleep. If it's too hot, you would not sleep well. Advertising. We do not really give a duck if it works. We already got your money. Even better, it's practically impossible to say it did not work. Your sales stayed flat? Just think how much they would have dropped if you did not run that ad campaign. And when you go out of business, we sell to the business that takes your place. Jewelry / gems / diamonds is pretty dark. Recycling. Dirty little secret of the recycling industry is how much is either shipped overseas and dumped in a landfill or just sent directly to your local landfill. The good news is the toxic stuff is what is sent overseas. Well, good news if you're not in a poor country, I guess. As a chef / owner, I would say delivery services like Grubhub, they take 30% of the sale, leaving the restaurant with basically $0 in profit. And their customer support is a joke. It's like they hate us. Duck them. Never again. Rating services like Yelp refuse to advertise, and your good reviews magically get rearranged. Hey, look, if you want to do that and be transparent, I get it. But most every business owner knows how scummy this is, and most clients just have no idea. I have a business that ISN not something that would usually be looked for on Yelp. They called and I just froze. Luckily I do long-term rentals and was sold out. Explained I will not have an opening for months. They seemed to leave me alone. Yet they have my business on the front page of Google search under the wrong category. The textbook industry. Pearson is a duck in Mayfair. McGraw-Hill was the bane of my existence for years. Same. I'm really looking forward to graduating to finish school, but also so I can stop needing to buy $120 online codes for McGraw-Hill. So done with it. I hate the books so much. History book volume 7 is old but 8 today. Why is 7 old? Because they revised a few paragraphs here and there. Textbooks are a scam. Sunglass industry. Punny business. But, yes, it's true. I'll use Oakley as an example because it's literally close to home. Oakley has not been the same since they were bought out. Oakley was a great company to work for with great bonuses, swag, and extremely high company morale. Their HQ is one of the coolest buildings you could find, and the people were always happy to work for a legendary company that really treated their employees right. Oakley knew their customers well, but at the end of the day, it's still a business, and Luxottica wanted that business. Luxottica bought them out in the end, but not through Oakley's own will. You see, Luxottica owns nearly all the major glasses brands and the stores that carry them. They are one step short of a full monopoly of the entire global eyewear industry. Luxottica wanted Oakley, so they took Oakley off all the shelves of every major glasses retailer until Oakley could do nothing but give in. Squeezed dry until they had to be bought at nicer price for Luxottica. Unfortunately, it is the end of the video, but do not worry, there are many more coming. Like and subscribe for more videos from the Red Sea. Thanks for watching.